Okay, so I am officially joining the discussion on Black women in luxury and Black women's soft life, and why these trends are exactly that. They're trends, they don't last. I understand Black women wanting to enter that space of luxury, ease, being able to sit back and be taken care of, as historically that has not been the experience of Black women. Black women have not historically been allowed to have that nice experience of just being women and being cared for and taken care of. And so I totally get why there is such a huge sort of lust for that lifestyle for Black women. But the issue is that it's not sustainable, and there's a reason why. Typically, the approach that Black women take to entering that space of womanhood and femininity, where you are the receiver and you're living this easy life and you're receiving this life and someone is giving it to you, like your husband, what have you. The reason why it doesn't work out for Black women is because Black women typically go for the visual of that lifestyle, which is the nice things, the nice purse, the nice bags, always looking really clean cut and put together. But that's not actually how you get to that lifestyle. Okay? You're essentially, in effect, cosplaying as a woman from the upper class while being a woman in possibly the lower to middle class of the class systems. So I've written down basically a guide of the difference between the classes. It's one thing to try and look like you're from the upper class while being a part of the lower or middle class. But one thing that people who are actually a part of the upper elite class don't do is that they don't go around trying to look like they're a part of that class. It just so happens that they look like it because they are a part of that class and because they do have the money and the access to that class. But they're not actually trying to convince you that they are of that class, the way that Black women in the lower and middle classes are trying to convince you that they are of that class. So you actually want to be within that class. There are steps that you must take to get there. And I wrote down on paper the differences between the classes and how the classes live their life and how they differ from one another, from the lower all the way up to the upper and elite class. And I'm going to break it down for you very quickly. It's here on this paper. So you have the middle class, lower, middle, and upper middle class. And then we have the upper class, the lower upper class, the middle upper class, and the upper and elite class. And how they each define and experience education, entertainment, income, and their family structure. So, starting with the lower class, and I can go into this more in depth, but I just want to be quick. The lower class education is typically high school and it stops there. Entertainment will typically be TV and going to the park. Their income is typically like a dead-end job, 9 to 5, less than $28,000 a year. And then for their family structure, lower middle class families typically are led by a single parent, be it a woman or a man. That is just typical. Those are the statistics. And then you get into the middle class, where the education level is typically high school and some college, like community college. Maybe they got an associate's degree. And then it goes into, for entertainment, in a middle class family, it will typically be movie theater or road trip or an amusement park. For the upper middle class family, education, I didn't finish, hold on. I didn't finish. Okay, so for income in the middle class family, maybe 30 to 40K a year, somewhere in there. Some sort of upper management position. So there's some room for growth in the career of a person who's in the middle class. So there might be in management, making around 30 to 40K a year. And their family structure will typically be like a mom and maybe a dad, but the children will likely have different fathers. That's just what it is. I'm going off of statistics, don't kill me. Upper middle class education, high school and a bachelor's degree, likely. For entertainment, it will typically be everything that's here except one vacation a year. to a very close destination. So maybe the Caribbean, somewhere nearby, or maybe just traveling within the country. Income level for an upper middle class will be between like 40,000 to 60,000, 70,000 maybe. And then they will likely be in a lower profession like nurse, or something within that realm where they make around 60 to 70K a year. Plus they will likely have a side hustle at this level. Now we're getting into the upper classes. Lower middle class, their education will be high school and definitely a bachelor's degree, most likely. Their entertainment will look like the high arts. So this is when we're getting into becoming a patron of the arts in the upper class. So live performances like live theatrical plays, ballet and opera, and that is going to be the same all the way across for the entertainment, all the way across. For the income in an upper middle class, so the income in the upper middle class is going to be like the six figures. That's when you reach exactly 100,000 to maybe 100 and I don't know, 200,000. That's lower middle class. 100,000 to 200,000, I would say, is lower middle class. Their income level will be around there, and they'll likely work in corporate, upper level corporate, or doctor, or something like that. High level management, so like a C-level management, and they'll likely probably own a business. So that's lower upper class. For their family structure, this is when you're getting into definitely a two-parent household. So the upper classes will likely have a two-parent household, mother, father. All the children are likely by the same father, as the upper classes very much value traditional family structures. Once we're married, that's it. We're not getting separated, right? So two-parent household is all the way across for the upper classes. And then plus they will likely have some sort of retirement or savings going on. I'm running out of time, so let me wrap this up. Okay, so moving on. The upper middle class. Yeah, the upper middle class, their education will be a master's, likely. They will likely have a master's degree. For their entertainment, they will do exactly all of this, like I said. Plus, they will probably also have a private membership to a resort or a lodge. So all of this plus that. Moving into their income, so someone in the upper middle class is likely a CEO, exec. They likely have stocks and investments, and the same will be true for the upper and elite classes. But someone in the upper middle will likely make around 600K to $1 million a year, upper middle. And then for their family structure, two-parent household, they will have a retirement and savings plan put together. And then they'll also have an education or a retirement savings. Yeah, so education and retirement savings for their children to go to college. And then finally, I've got 2 minutes left. Okay, finally, the upper elite, they will likely have PhDs and masters. This is when you're getting up there with the education. So they try to push for masters, PhDs, very educated, going to the Ivies. That's very important to the upper classes. For their entertainment, they're going to do all of this. So patrons of the arts, plus private memberships to, clubs and lodges. Plus, they will likely do some fox hunting, which is something that the elites like to do. Plus, private islands, owning a small island somewhere, or some sort of private, cut-off, secluded place. For their income, we're looking at $1 million and up. From here, it's just $1 million and up. It only goes up from here. And they're likely business owners. They have a lot of investments, a lot of stocks, CEOs, execs. We're getting into like the Jeff Bezos dudes here. For their family structure, two-parent household. Education and retirement, obviously, but trust funds is the big one. They protect their assets in their trust funds and make sure that their descendants 100 years from now have access to all of their wealth. So that is how the classes differentiate. And cosplaying like you're of the upper class, but you're not actually living that lifestyle. You're not actually, I'm running out of time. I'm going to do a part 2. I'm going to do a part 2. Okay, so as I was saying, the reason why Black women in luxury tends to fail is because Black women in luxury are not taking into account how the classes differentiate, how they differentiate. Black women in luxury, it tends to be all about the visual, the feel, the aesthetic. So aesthetically, she looks like she's of the upper class. She dresses well, speaks well, takes nice pictures on her Instagram. So it looks like she's of that upper class effortlessly, but it's not sustainable long term because Black women in luxury are not actually doing the work to get here, getting that degree to get here, getting the income, changing the type of entertainment that you consume. So put down the TV, pick up the arts, stimulate your mind, right? So it's not sustainable long term. Because when you try to get into these spaces, if you're here, you're in the lower middle classes, lower to middle class, and you're trying to break into these upper middle class or upper class spaces, and then you get in there and the people in there are talking about a play that they just saw on Broadway, or they're talking about some opera singer's aria or whatever, how sublime it was. And then you're in there and you're just like, what? What are they talking about? How are you going to communicate? There's going to be a language barrier here, especially when it comes to the entertainment and the arts. There's going to be a language barrier because y'all aren't doing the same things. So Black women in luxury, the reason why it doesn't work is because Black women in luxury are prioritizing the aesthetic of luxury and the look of it, rather than actually trying to get into that lifestyle, break into that lifestyle either through marriage or through education. So placing education at the top of your list and marriage at the top of your list, marrying well, not to be one of those people who are like, marry up, but no, marrying well. He doesn't need to be a super millionaire, but he should be at least in the upper middle class. That's a good, the middle to the upper middle class, because at least in the middle class, there's room for growth. You know, if the guy that you're marrying values education and he's in the middle class, at least there's room for growth, right? So that's good. So that's why it doesn't work. The soft life doesn't work, and it fails epically every time, because no thought is being given to how you actually go from living the struggle life to living the good life. You don't get from living the struggle life to living the good life by changing how you dress alone, or cosplaying as someone who is, from the upper classes. You don't just get there by doing that. You actually have to do some work. I know, as daunting as that sounds, but you do actually have to change your life around in several ways, changing around your personality, raising your moral and value standards, higher moral standards, because people in the upper class do have higher moral standards and values. The music that you listen to, the party lifestyle that you might live, clubbing, getting dressed up to go out clubbing to take cool pictures, that might have to come to an end, because the people in the upper middle class don't like to be outside of their communities. They have wealth, they can't do that, right? They can't be out here in the streets. We outside, they can't. So consider all of this stuff when you're trying to change your life around and get into the upper class. It's not just about looking like you're in the upper class, but actually living it and planning for your family. Traditional family structure is so important in the upper class. I cannot stress that enough. Okay, so having baby daddies and baby mamas out here, no, that's a bad look when you're in the upper classes. That's why in the upper class, once you're married, you're married. You're not out here having children by this guy and that guy and children by this woman and that woman. You're married, and that's it. They're big on keeping up appearances. So, and it's easier to keep your wealth within your family if you don't have baby kids all over the place by different women and different fathers. Yes, so consider all of that, and you might find that getting into the upper class and living the soft life and living the luxury life is actually accomplishable. Like, you can actually do it and maintain it long term. Okay, I'm done.